She will be called in for questioning. Rather, she has been summoned once again, or she will have to be back at the Narcotics Control Bureau office tomorrow as well. So while I stay with those live pictures, I want to go across to Swapnil Kothari first and then get his point of view. Swapnil, we were talking about it this morning. It's a matter of time before she's confronted with the facts. Fact is, she was confronted with the drug chats, had no option but to admit procuring drugs via Shovik. Drugs is a side angle. Murder still the same, still the top focus. Swapnil.
Absolutely, Niranjan. Niranjan, absolutely. There is no doubt about it. And at least one, sort of admission is there by her that, she used to procure drugs. And that is very, very nice for the simple reason that the NDPS Act immediately swings into action as far as this admission is concerned about the procurement of drugs. Now, whether it was consumption, peddling, transportation, those are all different sections that can be levied at a later stage, depending upon what sort of evidence does the NCB show to her and how much she admits or how much they can show to her without even her admitting it, because they can say that, look, this is what it is, and even if you don't admit this is, we are certain about it, and then they can start levying those sections. Now, as far as the murder aspect is concerned, her connection with murder is a very, very important factor. According to me, if she was in the last 4 days between 8th and 14th administering drugs so as to benumb him, that he is not in a position to fight back at all if confronted or if attacked by some people, then that definitely makes her an abettor to the crime, because she knew that this guy was going to be murdered and she was administering drugs heavily to the extent of benumbing him. So if it was only earlier benumbing to the extent that she can siphon off his money, that's a different issue. But here between 8th and 13th, if at all she was doing that, or even slightly earlier, and if there is medical evidence to that effect, that yes, if you administer drugs, and she was in the foreknowledge of the fact that this guy was going to be murdered at some point immediately after Disha Salien's death, then that is something which the CBI will have to piece the dots together, because here, as far as this aspect is concerned, Niranjan, she may just remain to choose mum, which she is entirely allowed by the law to keep quiet on this and leave it entirely to the prosecution to prove it beyond reasonable doubt without the accused opening her mouth. Except after all the prosecution witnesses are over and the defense is asked, the defense is being put to question. Until that time, she's entitled to keep her mouth shut. Even thereafter, she can just say, I don't know, and that's about it. But that is going to be a tough task to show that between 8th and 14th, she was administering drugs. And if Dipesh Sawant, apparently from what I've heard, is said that she used to procure drugs to administer the same to him between 8th and 13th, if that statement is corroborated by somebody else also, and assuming that Rhea keeps mum on that, then, then we have a case at hand.
That's a live shot outside the NCB office. She's been summoned once again. And I just want to put out some graphics as well that we have of the murder angle. So while I stay with this, we'll put out the graphics of the murder angle, and I want to bring in Aniket also in. Aniket, there are 3 or 4 bits of breaking news information that we have on the murder angle. Now, first up, the Cooper doctors have been confronted once again by the CBI. The confrontation has already happened. They were confronted with the injury marks. They were confronted with the injury marks. They were confronted with the aberration. They were confronted with all the questions that have been emerging, especially on the role of the autopsy team at Cooper. Secondly, on the role of Sandeep Singh, the Akshay Bangar, who's the ambulance driver, has also been questioned on the calls between him and Sandeep Singh. Sandeep Singh himself under the scanner for para-dropping there on the 14th of June, staying there on the 15th, taking control of the entire situation. So while some tried to build up this suicide narrative and played on the drugs narrative, the truth is the real picture is emerging only now, Aniket. Only now.
That's true, Niranjan. I mean, see, in this matter, there are 3 investigating agencies who are investigating this case from different viewpoints. CBI is investigating the suicide as well as the murder angle. There is ED, which is investigating the financial angle, and there is NCB, which is investigating the drug angle. Now, as far as this drugs case is concerned, it seems that Rhea Chakraborty has given some sort of admission where she said that she was personally consuming these drugs and she was securing it through her brother Shovik Chakraborty. But the larger question is, was she involved in peddling? Was she involved in getting Sushant Singh Rajput addicted to these drugs? And for that, it is very essential to see the version of other persons, that is the roommates of Sushant Singh Rajput, roommates like Pithani, then his Dipesh Sawant and other floor managers, etc. So all will have to be confronted with this version of Rhea Chakraborty, and will have to be seen whether there are any inconsistencies or not. As far as the CBI investigation is concerned, and as you rightly pointed out, there are a lot of inconsistencies, loopholes, and lacunas in the post-mortem report. We all know that there was no time mentioned